Hi, beautiful women. Shakti here. I can see I've got a funny bit of hair sticking up. Anyway, how are you doing? I just got the inspiration to come and do this live about victim consciousness and how an awareness of boundaries and consent is a vital key, a vital tool to step out of victim mode. And yeah, I'm going to share a little bit about why this feels really important and I've been guided to share. So I've been holding space for some one-to-one clients over the last few days. And I guess this is a theme that's in my awareness because I'm teaching to it at the moment as well. But the theme kept coming up of, I guess in each case, the issues and concerns that were presenting in those sessions were to do with these women having a sense of things being done to them or behavior happening in their relationship that didn't feel good, and that was really affecting their emotional well-being. And I guess universally, despite best efforts, there was a sense of something's being done to me that I don't like and I don't want. I don't know how to change it. And a little bit of projection and blame onto the other, like if only he could stop doing this, then the problem would go away. So it was making it more about how the partner, how the other needs to change or needs to stop doing something for their emotional well-being and balance to return to equilibrium. And the thing with this is that when we start identifying with the position of being the victim, we can forget very easily that we are co-creating a situation always, and that we have choice. And I can really, really relate and understand to that position. So I understand very much where it comes from, and it's something I have had to address and continue to in myself. So just to, because I'm not saying this out of judgment or blame or superiority, but out of support and love and clear seeing, and very much informed by my own journey as well as my extensive study and learning. So for me, just to give you this example, as I went into my teenager years, every time I spoke something that contradicted what my father said, he would become angry and sometimes violent. I was not allowed to have my own opinions. My feelings and emotions were never asked about, inquired into, or supported. And I learned basically that my role in the family was to listen to my mum moaning about my dad, and to listen to her emotional needs and problems, and to listen to my dad moaning about my mum. So that's where I had value, that's where I had a role, but there was no space for me to have needs or desires or wishes, or to be listened to or asked about. And there was no space for me to have opinions or points of view that were in any way different from those of my father in particular. So even though I was an incredibly gifted, talented, intelligent, outstanding young woman, that part of me that loves to debate ideas and question things and find out and express herself began to become more and more repressed. It wasn't safe to express what I thought. It wasn't safe to have a different opinion. There was no space. So I learned to people please. I learned to accommodate. I learned to be like a chameleon, to fit in with every situation and not to aggravate others around me. So I learned to adapt to other people, to be safe. And in that sense, in a way, I was a victim of abuse and enmeshment. And I guess these days it's called emotional incest, when your parents use you in that way inappropriately when you're still a young person developing yourself. And so then later on in my adult years, when things were happening that I didn't like or I didn't want, I often allowed and suffered and endured and tolerated them because it did not occur to me that I had a choice, that I had agency, that I could say no, that I wasn't going to be hit or slapped or shut in my room for speaking up. You know, those kind of patterns of appeasing and fawning, which is a trauma response, can be very ingrained. Fawning is one trauma response, fight, flight, or freezing are others. So freezing can be very similar, where your body mind shuts down and there's no agency there anymore, right? So I really understand where these patterns come from. And, you know, I've also been in an abusive relationship, and other relationships I would define as semi-abusive. So I've repeated this pattern often. I get it. And in working with my clients now who may be in similar situations or where there are echoes of that kind of theme, it's then very easy for me to see now where my clients are going into the victim role and identifying it with it so fully and completely that they feel as if they have no choice. They feel as if things are being done to them. They feel as if the other is to blame. They feel as if they just change something about their partner, everything's going to be all right. And that's not the solution I support. It's never going to work. That's just going to create toxic dynamics and a lot of conflict and a lot of suffering for everybody involved. So what can help is informing yourself about boundaries and consent and what that really means for you, and beginning to practice clear and conscious communication based on full self-responsibility and full self-awareness. And I know that is not an overnight possibility. It's not an overnight fix. It's something you have to commit to and decide to be fully responsible for, and become radically honest with yourself and willing to own your shadows, because we all have shadows. Every single person. Simply means there are parts of your personality, parts of your behavior that you're unconscious of, unaware of, or that are based in survival patterns from your childhood years that are not aligned with your highest and truest expression as an individual and as a soul, and that contribute to you repeating patterns where you get to feel and experience those same old traumas and wounds and difficulties until you find resolution within yourself, not until other people change. So, for example, I know we don't learn these things overnight. I know it takes practice every single day and learning and course correcting and learning and course correcting and trying again and trying again. I know that. And a really useful question to ask yourself is, instead of they're doing this to me, right, and it hurts and they're the problem, a really useful approach to take here is to notice what you're feeling and take the focus off them, because focusing on what the other's doing wrong is a diversion from healing your own stuff and becoming aware of your own stuff. So first, to notice, what am I feeling? What am I sensing in my body? And to give your full presence and awareness to that without going into story and without blaming or shaming anybody else, but just feeling it, just owning it, just holding space for it within yourself, right? And that can take some time. And then to also ask yourself, how am I co-creating this experience? And how am I allowing that behavior? Because sometimes when we're really triggered, we can't think that clearly. But once we've calmed down, once we've given space and breath and love and presence to our feelings and our sensations, and we hold space for ourselves, so we're not abandoning ourselves, which is another common pattern, then we can inquire, how am I allowing this? Because in the dynamic of boundaries and consent, in the framework of considering things in terms of boundaries and consent, if somebody's doing something to another person, the other person is either allowing it or not. So how am I allowing it? And how can I articulate my boundaries? How can I ask for what I want? How can I say no? Because that is also your responsibility. It is not their responsibility to mind read your needs and your desires and your emotions and caretake them. But if somebody's doing something that you don't like, it's your responsibility to caretake yourself. So how am I allowing this shifts the power dynamic back so that you have agency and you have choice and you have power? How am I allowing this? And then what do I need to do to notice, to value, and to communicate my boundaries and my limits in this situation, and to take whatever action is needed for my own well-being? So I really hope that helps. And also to just highlight that I'm going to be repeating my really successful workshop, Just Say No, which is an online workshop. It's a mini workshop, 3 hours, where I guide you into a deeper understanding of boundaries, consent, and conscious communication in a way that's really practical, really compassionate, really helpful and supportive, so that you can show up in all your relationships and in your intimate relationships in a clearer, healthier, more empowered way. The last workshop was amazing. All the women got so much out of it. And this next one is going to be repeated. It's on the 22nd of July from 10 a.m. in the morning to 1 p.m. in the afternoon. That's UK time. So reach out if you want to know more, although all the information is in the group here, and I will put the link below. Lots of love, beautiful women. See you soon.